Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Del Barzi. As always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey, from students to retirees and anywhere in between. And today, it is my great pleasure to welcome Nicole Cromwell. Nicole is a registered nurse, an abstract artist, and the creator of the Brave Beginner Art course. She has spent her career caring for patients as a healthcare professional, and she says that she uses her painting to bring balance to her life. So, welcome, Nicole.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
It is my great pleasure. It really is. I've gotten over the last couple of years so much joy, so much insight, and so much knowledge just talking to nurses. So it's fabulous. So tell me though, why did you become a nurse?
I don't have one of those super inspirational stories. I just kind of fell into it. Out of high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I became a flight attendant and flew around the world for a couple of years, and then came home and sold plants for a while and just didn't know what I wanted to do. And a friend of mine became a nurse, and I thought, well, that sounds interesting. So I applied for nursing school, and I got in Southern California, but then I was living at Newport Beach on the beach and just not super focused. And so I sort of pivoted. My parents moved up north to Carmel, and I thought, well, that looks nice, and there's a nursing school up there. So I moved up here where I am now, and applied to the nursing school, got in, and that's how my started.
And the rest is history, huh?
Yeah, best decision I ever made. So
so many people say that. But so having done other things, first of all, what challenged you about nursing school and nursing in general?
I think it's just kind of, you don't know what you don't know. And there was a lot I did not know. A whole lot. Yeah. But my nursing school, it was an associate's degree program, and it was fabulous. It was here in Monterey, and that was probably almost 30 years ago, and some of the instructors are still there. They're so good. I had a great experience in nursing school.
Yeah. So, but from being a flight attendant and selling plants, among other things, any of those skills, and that knowledge lend you at that conference again. And you tell me you sell plants. For me, anyone who sells anything is like way up here.
No, I was a horrible salesperson, so that's why. Because to me, like, if you want it, you're going to buy it. So I'm, and that carries over into my art business too, which is not helpful. But I'm working on that. But it was just what helped me, I think, was with the flight attendant and being in sales was the customer service.
Okay. So you talk about the experiencing imposter syndrome and compassion fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Imposter syndrome, huge.
And it was what made it okay finally was this one physician that I worked with, that I interviewed for my my master's program, and she shared with me that she had the same thing, and I thought, oh my gosh, if she's got it, I'm not alone in this, and this is normal. And mostly it came up like when I was on the critical care response team. Like, we would all the codes and the strokes and the traumas and everything, and I would walk into a room and be like, oh, wow, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm going to go back to my ABCs, and I'm going to look confident. And I want to say fake it till you make it, but like, you have to just go in there and be like, all right, we're going to figure this out. Yeah. And just be confident, even though if you're not feeling on the inside, you portray that on the outside. And you learn from your mistakes. You be humble and vulnerable, and just ask for feedback all the time. And
and many times you just have to trust that what you've been taught, what you actually know that you don't think you know, takes over.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And just be confident in yourself and your skills. And, if, you don't know something, you go home and you look it up and figure it out.
and figure it out. Yeah, yeah. And you learn very quickly that the time for shaking is not when something is happening. You can shake afterwards if you want to. When something is
Family's
happening, this
job.
is not the
They're scared enough for everybody. So yeah, exactly.
time. Yeah, I end up very, very quickly.
Right.
And so you said that you researched compassion fatigue and burnout, right?
Yeah.
And so what's the difference?
So, so let's see. So yeah, I had to do this for my course and I've got all my notes for that. But burnout is more about the institution and the things that you face, where compassion fatigue is more your inner
You.
process.
It's you. And I ask that because we're talking a lot about those very two things these days. We're talking a lot about burnout, we're talking a lot about compassion fatigue, and sometimes they're, crossing over one another. And I'm thinking of ways that we can, because everybody experiences burnout. It's not just nurses.
Right.
Nurses experience burnout a lot, though.
Mhm.
And somehow we have to get to the place where we um, pick up the signs very quickly, or more quickly than we do,
Mhm.
as a community and as an individual,
Right.
to stop this, this thing that it seems as though almost as though we're exploding into this.
100%. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have worked in many, many areas. You've done oncology and flight team and critical response and all that. And we're going to talk about this flight team thing later. But what would you, having done so much, um, what would you like to see change?
There's a lot. Um,
To be one. I know there's a lot.
honestly, I think that the public needs a better idea of what we do. I think that's a good place to start. And I think that that's happening. I think we're not afraid to talk. And, there's so much fear around HIPAA and sharing.
Yeah.
There's ways that you can share without sharing too much. But then, you're always afraid of the institution coming back and saying, you're not supposed to share any of that. So it's a struggle. But I think we're figuring out ways to be able to share things with the public. And what nurses do is not normal by any means. It's not it's not a desk job. It's not a 9 to 5. I mean, there's some parts of nursing that are more of that, but the bedside nursing, like, this is just not normal stuff that we do. And it's hard to get it unless you're in there.
I know. And that's one of the goals. That's one of the reasons that I created this channel. One of the big reasons, it's not the only reason, but one of the reasons, because I want to talk to nurses and I want the people that we serve to
Mhm.
see us as more than just this narrow thing this narrow picture that has been portrayed
Right.
for so long.
Right. I mean, I cringe when I see the nurse costumes, the sexy nurse costumes for Halloween. I just makes me crazy. But when people say, "What's the worst thing you've ever seen?" Well, trust me, you don't
You
want
don't
that.
want to know.
You don't want that in your head. It's in my head and causing me, angst
You-
and trauma. And
yeah,
so don't ever ask that.
yeah, yeah. You don't want to know. Believe me, it might sound like a good conversation starter, but you don't want to know.
No, but I think we are being more understood by the general public. I think that's going to be
Yeah,
helpful.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
I would,
yeah. Because I want them to see that when we come to you, when I come to you as a nurse, when you're a patient, I come to you as a nurse. I bring a whole lot of stuff with me. A lot of it that you don't see.
right.
A lot
Right.
of it
And I
that
wanted absolutely more safety precautions in place for nurses and better support for our mental health. I think that's all key.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. So as you're talking about safety precautions, I see that you had an incident. You were assaulted.
Yes. It actually it's happened twice, and the second time it happened, and I went to our employee health. They said, "Oh, you were here, 5 years ago for being eye patients," and I didn't even remember.
What was the point of bringing that up? I mean, is that making it your fault or what? What are we saying?
Yeah, what are you doing wrong that you're getting assaulted? And I
Yeah.
am the sweetest, kindest. You can ask any of my colleagues. I am the most empathetic, one of the most empathetic nurses out there, and so yeah, I did nothing to cause this.
But I said that because very often when you bring something, that is the kind of response that you get, the kind of
Yeah,
response that somehow in some kind of circulatory kind of way implies that you must have done something wrong. It must have been your
I
fault.
think that there is a lot more awareness around that now,
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
hopefully that's changing. But I mean, yeah,
That's
it's still really bad.
so before we switch into your art,
Yeah.
what was the best thing you liked about flight nursing?
Um, well,
Being on the flight team.
I when I first got into nursing, I was in oncology and I was sad crying every day when I came home.
Uh-huh.
And I was so fortunate to get into emergency, and it was down here in Monterey, and it's level 3 trauma center. So not a big center for trauma, which I knew I needed. And so after 2 years, I went up to the Bay Area, got a job in the ICU, got some experience there, and got on the flight team. And I was so excited, and I absolutely loved it. Like, you go out there and you shut down the freeway, and you are on your belly intubating somebody, and
Mhm,
you
mhm.
know flying, and seeing shooting stars all around you, a meteor shower. I mean,
Yeah.
such a cool experience. And you were the big deal. And the doctors respected what you said, and they listened to you, and you got to do just all sorts of advanced procedures, central lines,
Yeah. Yeah.
art lanes. Yeah, it was really cool, and I absolutely loved it. It was my dream job, and I would have done it for a lot longer, but I had to work night shift. It was like month of days, month of nights, month of days, month of nights, and rotating. And then every once in a while on your day shift, your night shift, they'd throw in some day shifts. And so it's just, I'm just not a night shift person, and I just don't think as well at night. And I
Mhm.
recognize that. And that's not a job where
Yeah.
uh, you have to be on it, because you're a safety officer for the rest of the crew. And if you miss something, you can all go down. I mean, your pilot's flying the aircraft, but like on takeoff, on landing, it's all eyes out. You don't touch the patient, you're looking out, and you're making sure everything's safe,
Yeah.
because if you're not
Yeah.
doing that, then
Yeah.
nobody's safe.
Yeah. So, what do you see though? I know you're not actively, well, yeah, as far as we're all nursing in a way, but what do you see nursing looking like in about 10 years?
Wow, that's a tough one. Gosh, I mean, I would like to see nurses being paid much better for their work, working to the full ability scope of their practice. Yeah, but I just think, I hope nurses are more empowered, and I hope that better systems are set up for our mental health.
Mhm.
And I see that changing. I've been part of that, and there's a few organizations that I've been working with. Therapy Aid Coalition is amazing. They have like free and low cost therapy for nurses by
Mhm.
nurses. So
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many therapists I've been to that are like, "Ooh, yeah, I have no idea how to help you with what you're dealing with." And it's, you tell your whole story, and they just, "Let's talk about something else that I can help you with." And so
Mhm.
um, that's helpful. Don't Clock Out is an amazing support group that just lets you talk and
Yeah.
vent. It's private, and it's anonymous. They're great debriefing the front lines, Operation Happy Nurse. There's so many out there that are up and coming that I think are going to be really helpful for nurses.
All right. So let's segue into your art, your passion.
Yeah, it is.
Were you always an artist?
No, no,
Okay.
I was the stick figure person. I did not do, I mean, maybe art as a child, but no. And my grandmother was an artist, and I always was just in awe of her, but I've never tried it myself. I never thought I had any creative ability. And then about, I think it was about 9 years ago, I cared for a patient in the ICU. Her name was Amy, and her family gave me permission to use her name. And Amy was intubated and sedated the whole time. We cared for her, and she was our age at the time. This was in the ICU. And when Amy, during the time she was in there, I got to know her family, and I found out she was an artist. And I told her family, bring in her artwork. This is her room. She immune compromised, so she had her own private room. And like the next day, the walls were plastered with her artwork, and it was so beautiful. And it changed the way we cared for her, because she was now this person, with a history and a life and hobbies, and it changed everything for her that day. And eventually she lost her battle with cancer, and it really affected a lot of us. And so I organized a group of 14 nurses, and our manager included, and we all did this art night, this creative night. And we just went to this little art studio, and we painted and colored and made bracelets and charms and ornaments and all kinds of random things. And I just thought, that was really cool. I liked that. And so I just started going to like paint and sip events, and started taking classes, and then workshops, and then retreats. And now I just cannot stop. And I absolutely love it. And, at first I started painting, it was just a hobby. It was just a way to just shut everything out, and just a release for me. And I didn't understand why it felt so good and was so helpful for me, but I just knew it felt great. And then a little while later, I was painting, and then it's vulnerable to share your artwork, because but I started sharing it, and people wanted to buy it, and I was like, what? This,
Are you
I
kidding?
could be like make money, and then at that point it was like make money to pay for more art supplies. And so I started selling it, and then it just kind of started taking off. And now I've got my own art studio with a beautiful ocean view, and I'm in a gallery. I've got my own gallery space in Carmel by the sea, which is amazing. And this, and I've retired from nursing. It's hard to say that out loud, because you know, I'm going to be 55, and it feels too
Okay.
early to retire. But, I went out on a medical leave a few months ago, and I couldn't go back mentally, physically. I was done.
I
And
get
so,
that.
yeah. And so I thought, well, I'll just dip into my retirement, and I'll make this work and give it a shot. And if not now, when?
Eh,
And I'm still going for it. And I created this Brave Beginner art course. It's how to survive and thrive through creativity. And nurses get CEs for it. You get 3 self-care CEs. And it's a beginner art course, because I want to share what has helped me so much over the years. And I feel like it's time to heal our healers.
yeah.
And if this helps 1, 2, 3, however many nurses, then I've met my goal. And so we keep it affordable, and it's all online. It's go at your own pace. It's easy to do. And we keep the supply prices down. And um,
Yeah.
it's been a great experience, and I'm thrilled about it.
As am I listening to you. As am I listening to you. So I have a question. It's probably a non-artist kind of question. Um, does your art tell stories?
Mhm. It does. I know that my artwork has healed me over the years, and so that's the energy I put into it and what it gives back to me. And so that's what I put out into the world. And
Yeah.
so people that come into my art gallery space are like, wow, it just feels so calming and soothing in
Mm,
here. And that lights me up every time I hear that, because that's exactly what I want it to say. And a lot of times I'll write quotes on the canvas underneath, or just to set an intention. And that always speaks to people when I do that. And I paint a lot of ocean scenes, because I live near the ocean, and I know how healing the ocean
mm,
is.
mhm.
for everybody, just everything about it. And so, yeah, I mean, some days I paint the ocean. Some days I paint flowers. If I'm feeling like super joyful, I'll just paint a bunch of flowers, abstract, of
Mhm.
course, because I still can't draw. Like, people ask me all the time, can you paint my dog? Can you paint my child? And I'm like, you don't want me to do that, seriously. And that's part of like my art course. It's not, I believe everybody has creativity inside them. It just needs to be
Mhm.
harnessed, it just needs to be practiced. And maybe it's not painting, maybe it's just, working with clay or
Yeah.
photography or whatever it is. You've got it in
Mhm.
you.
Mhm.
There's so many things coming out about, so many books and studies coming out about the health benefits of art. Like,
Mhm.
called Your Brain on Art is just fascinating. I love this book. It just tells you everything that goes on in your brain as you're creating, and it's so cool. Um, but yeah, my art, I try to put a healing energy out into the world.
Awesome. 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 That is really cool. That's really, really cool. I always feel like, artists are people who tell stories regardless of whatever it is they're doing.
Hmm.
By the way, 55 is not too early to retire.
I still think
Retirement is when you feel ready, whatever age that is.
yeah, I mean, I still think I might go back into like infusion therapy or,
Uh-huh.
in a perfect world, part of me wants to go and do hospice nursing or palliative care. Because that's what I think, is just, I've done enough of, the critical care stuff. And now like I would be all for hospice or palliative. I love them. I think they're the best people in the world, the palliative care team. Um, but and because I have all these great skills that are like, I sit there making price tags in the gallery and I think, what am I doing? I have all these critical care skills. I could save your life 100 different ways, but I'm making price tags. So I
You'll
don't
get
know.
to it when you get to it.
I know. And
And
someone even, there's the nursing school I went to, they said, we need instructors, so let us know if you want to be a guest instructor or whatever. So, that might still be out there. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah, and that's a great thing about nursing. I mean, if you wanted to go back into, palliative care or something, you could do it one day a month if you wanted to
Wow.
and satisfy
That'd
that
be great.
yearning. You
Yeah.
know, one day a week, one day a month, one day, just satisfy that yearning to go back. Yeah.
Right.
So, um, what advice would you give someone? You did other things before coming to nursing. So what advice would you give someone who wants to be a nurse?
Um, I mean, go into it with sort of an open mind and open heart, um and just know that I think there's over 150 specialties in nursing that you can do. And so just know that you have choices, you have options. And if you get into something and you absolutely hate it, you do not have to stay in there and keep doing that. There's a million things you can do. So that, and I think, I mean, self-care seems like just such a buzzword these days, and
Yeah, I know.
but it is so important. And get your, like, set your therapy up early on,
Mhm.
um because you don't want to end up like me and like have all this stuff that you're trying to unravel 25
Yeah.
years later, and it's still coming up and still coming out, because I mean, I'm hoping that that's taught in nursing school now, to be able to care for yourself and
Yeah.
put yourself first. So I think those are the kinds of things that I would, and then take care of your back.
Yes. Take care of your your back. Well, there are like three things actually: your back, your bladder, and your feet.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I've got in my feet, I've got herniated discs, it's like, ugh. And I mean, I think I was probably, I was fortunate to work where I worked, where they had all this equipment to help you, patients and lift them. And it didn't always work. And, it wasn't always realistic, but wherever you can get help with that kind of stuff, you know, you only got this one body. You got to take care of it before all else.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. So one more quick question. If you
Mhm.
could describe what the most essential quality of a nurse is to you in just one word, what would that word be?
I think um, empathetic comes to mind. And I
Okay.
think, yeah, on so many levels, with everybody you see and you talk to in the environment that you work in, whether it be the patients, the coworkers, the physicians you deal with, anything, just recognizing that, you know, you're walking into a situation where you don't know what's going on behind the scenes for them.
Yeah,
You know, their dog just died, who knows, you know, and it's hard in the moment when someone yells at you or whatever it is, just knowing it's not you, it's coming from where they are, and just trying to be understanding and empathetic about that. And yeah, and knowing that, you know, most people are terrified of the hospital, and
yeah,
to sort of be a patient in one where you can, you know, you get to go home at the end of the day. I get to go home at the end of the day, but they don't. And we had patients in our hospital for a year in our unit, and it was like, oh my gosh, this poor guy. And so, you know, it was hard to care for him, but
yeah,
he's been there a year. And
yeah,
so trying to put yourself in their place and try to understand where they're coming from. And, you know, when they lash out at you, just knowing it's not you, it's coming from them and it's coming from where they are, I think will really save you a lot of grief, and your coworkers too. You don't know what's going on in their home
you don't
life.
know it's yeah, exactly, exactly. And you put that so well because very often we have to remember that many of our patients, their life skills, like many of us, did not prepare them for walking into a hospital sick, with all the other things that's going on in their life.
Right.
You know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. I always, whenever I drive by a hospital, I just look at it and think, people have no idea what's going on behind those walls.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Hundreds and hundreds of stories going on simultaneously.
mhm,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So be
yeah.
empathetic.
Any last words you'd like to leave us with?
I don't think so. I think we've touched on all of them.
Okay.
Thank you for this opportunity. You know, thank you for bringing me back in, to nursing, because you know, in my daily life now, I'm painting and I'm making price tags and work in the gallery for free, and you know, just and so my life is getting away from nursing, and it's those are, you know, that's been my life, my second family, and so I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate this opportunity.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. But let me just say that, as you said, we were talking earlier, and you said that when people walk in, they say it's so calm in there. You're bringing
Mhm.
healing energy to someone, even though
Yeah.
you're not in that setting. It's, you know, what you're doing is bringing healing energy to someone. So thank you.
Yeah, and that's my goal. That's what I want to do with my collectors, with the public, with the people that take my course. I just want to share um,
Yeah,
the art and what painting has done for me. So
thanks for that.
thank you.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.